Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our show. I'm your producer, Jack Tunney, and we're coming to you live on tape from the Sandwich Studio in Oceanside, California. It's October 8th, 2020. We have a great show for you today. We're starting with our first bite, where we will break down some of the biggest news stories of this week. Then we will dive deep into our sandwich, where we will discuss Trump's tax returns and the system that allowed it, before finally taking a long, relieving gulp of the milk. All that being said, go like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure to ring that bell to stay updated. Your support is the motivation that we need to keep putting our nose to the grindstone. Now, without further ado, in association with SitRep Media, the hosts of the PB&J Podcast.
Hey, welcome back to the show. My name is Brandon Blackmon.
And I'm Peter Whitehead, I'm pretty sure.
And last week we started doing a new program where we're going to start, accepting your comments, accepting some questions. We don't have any yet this week, but next week we're going to start talking to you guys live on the air, which is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So please leave comments in the comment section down below so that we can start this new segment.
Mm-hmm. Get yourself a little shout out.
Can. Yeah, we will read your name unless that's sensitivities in it.
Well, with that being said, let's get right into the first bite.
What's in our first bite?
Last night was the vice presidential debate, which I subjected myself to. It was not entertaining, and it was not filled with policy, but it was filled with, Pence. I think he avoided literally every single question. He would literally say, okay, that's a good question, but let me go back to that last point. It's almost like he was taking time to think of more answers, almost.
Well, that's better than taking no time and...
Yeah, I guess. But, he still didn't have great answers, and, he would just avoid and just dodge. And personally, I think Kamala Harris could have definitely, dogged him for that and been he's obviously avoiding questions. He can't tell the truth about anything. He can't answer for Trump's, mistakes. But I feel like she definitely held her own. I saw a lot of comments from just women, especially on TV and just on social media, about how the way Pence acted just reminded them of how our culture just kind of steamrolls over women, and how, he barely even responded to her. He kind of acted like it was his debate. He acted like he was the moderator sometimes. I don't think he showed a lot of respect for the moderator herself, speaking over her, ignoring her questions, ignoring her topics. It's like he was on his own time. It was weird. It was weird. And if I was on that stage personally, I would have slapped him down. I would have started asking him the questions again, pressing him, kind of more in the vein of.
I was reading that the moderator, Susan something, she got backlash for not pressing the questions.
Oh yeah, definitely a worse job than Chris Wallace, clearly. But when you're going with someone when you're going up against someone who is literally, just trying to avoid the problem and do whatever he can to just run down the clock, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Kamala Harris is on defense.
Right.
She doesn't want to say anything that's gonna get spun, so she's, playing it safe, and I think that's gonna win the election. So.
Yeah, I think that she's right to play it safe from her current position. They're leading in the polls by a significant margin. It's a larger margin than any of the last 4 elections I was looking at.
Uh-huh.
Wow. So I think her position would kind of be just stand fast, make sure she doesn't lose any ground, but you don't need to be gaining ground right now. You're ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, play it safe.
Yeah, play it as safe as you possibly can.
There was even that terribly awkward part about Pence trying to claim that they wanted to ban fracking. It's that's not on anyone's radar right now, legislation wise. It's a talking point.
Not none of the major candidates or anything.
It's definitely a purity test kind of question. Just answer it wrong so I can have a talking point saying that you want to ban fracking. It was a lot of that, and it was really just hard to watch. Just talking point mania.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I haven't actually seen the debate yet, guys. So Brandon is our source in on this. I was gonna wait till this weekend.
And I definitely have a tougher take on it, I'm sure.
Yeah. how does it compare to the presidential debate between Trump and Biden?
Of course, I'll say that the Trump debate was more entertaining. But also, there's something to the Trump strategy. That's really what I took from it. There's something to stepping over the debate, stepping over the rules, and saying what you have to say no matter what. Like, if someone was to take that strategy and use it for the right policies, like, it would win that debate with Pence. Like, Pence is going to go through whatever he's going through, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, okay, stimulus. They're lacking on stimulus, which is something she never brought up. The tax plan. Like, I would have just numbers. There's so many numbers.
One of the things that I heard just in the buzz around the debate was that she didn't push him on COVID hard enough because he's head of the COVID task force.
She kind of did. Yeah, I'm not.
That's just what I read. Again, I haven't seen it, so
I would say she was weak on the NAFTA China conversation because she wasn't going to say F China. She wasn't going to do that. Right. And she didn't make the connection that the USMCA deal is the same thing as NAFTA, which is a key thing if you're going to start criticizing Trump because he didn't change NAFTA. She didn't talk about stimulus. And then she was kind of weak on the environment because she was too busy kind of trying to defend the ban fracking thing, and which is not something they believe. But Mike Pence brought it up, and so now you have to take it down.
Yeah, so, I mean that's one of the things that works more effectively in the Trump-Pence strategy is if you put enough false claims out there.
Yeah,
like your opponent can't respond to all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say to the part I had
that's
watched
our producer,
up to,
Jack Tunney.
Hello. The part I had watched up to, Brandon was correct. Kamala was not trying to say anything bad about China, but Pence kept trying to assert the false claim that has already been proven false, that Biden said he was against the closure of America to China, and even though that's been discredited, it's like.
Well,
they just keep pushing.
So much of what they say has been discredited. And
it felt like it was a debate from like March. It felt like this debate happened before the coronavirus. It felt like it happened before any of unemployment. Like, they didn't talk about evictions. They didn't talk about unemployment. They didn't talk about. I mean, there was a question about Breonna Taylor, but I felt like it was really just through the motions. Compared to when Biden talked about it, and he brought it up himself, and it was kind of more natural. Mm-hmm. So it really was. It felt very standard political. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you. I will watch it, and maybe I'll have thoughts next week. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but I think it's important to at least mention it. VP debates tend to have very little sway on an election, but they are good moments for the candidates to kind of make themselves their own. They're not just like Kamala and Mike Pence were trying to make sure that they were individuals with agendas and that they aren't just the bodyguard to, their presidential candidate.
But also the very first question was about how they would both be the oldest presidents ever inaugurated. So they are the closest to becoming president than any other vice president. So this debate was supposed to be a little more. But anyway, it doesn't really matter to me.
Well, Mike Pence is extremely close to being president this week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
But we wanted to give a little shout out to a protest group that did a ceremony on one of the White House parks called the Ellipse. I think it's like the south-facing park. It's a huge circle, basically. But this group, COVID Survivors for Change, they went to this park at the White House, and they set up 20,000 chairs. And it's amazing because what they talk about is how there has not been a national day of reckoning for the more than 200 coronavirus victims. There has not been one day where Trump slowed down and like we all came together and mourned, like we're all just going through the motions still, not taking time to realize what's really happening around us, which is like massive death.
Yeah. So each one of these chairs is 10 individuals who have died, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, just look at this picture right here. It's It's a monument.
Do they have like a kind of a higher shot by any chance, Jack Tunney?
I don't
Just give
think
a little
so.
scroll down. No?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
No, but
But it's a ton of chairs.
yeah, I mean, rows and rows of people. Like there are 10,000 rows probably. I mean, not 10,000. Well, 10,000. You know, there's 20 rows probably of 1,000 seats. That's like an auditorium of people, and that's only 10 each for each seat. So it's a massive number of Americans, and we're just going through our, well, some people are going through their day like it's not happening. Some people are just kind of coping and not really accepting it. And then there's a large section of people that are, you know, personally suffering. Maybe their entire lives, their entire financial lives have changed because they lost someone due to this virus. And it's tragic, especially because we have a president that is stepping all over the seriousness of it still downplaying it, literally downplaying it. And
Well, yeah, I mean, he tweeted after. So we mentioned in our last First Bite that he had caught COVID. And the update on that is that he is out of the hospital.
he was in, he was out, he drove around.
Yeah, he did a whole thing, and we'll talk more about that. We just decided not to do it this week, but I mean, he tweeted out after that, you know, this is not a thing to be afraid of. Like, don't let it control your lives. So he caught it and then still downplayed.
I mean, and then going,
I don't know what we expected though, but
it's just like people. There was someone on the news and they're like, my grandfather is literally in the hospital dying right now. And the president is saying, don't let it control your life. It's like, it's controlling my life, whether I like it or not, first off. And two, you need to be doing something to make us all not fear. And you need to control the virus, like, as the state, you know, like
head of state.
We cannot explain government to this guy. We need to just get him out. Like, and that's something I also picked up from the debate. Like these people just cannot stay in office. People who like believe in this fake government where they're just going to sit there and collect their checks and dodge questions forever.
Yeah.
We need open government.
Open government, communicative government.
An open government that's not in the form of movie trailers and press releases and I mean, just look at what this guy made. Look, they brought like a movie team. They must have brought.
Yeah, there's.
They're
rousing soundtrack.
I'm gonna be honest. I was going onto YouTube at one point, and it was a Trump ad, but it had Martin Luther King as the like the first clip, like the thing that shows up before anything else, and I was like, why do you have that man there?
I just got angry. You just made me mad.
I just
Stop talking, Tunney.
Yeah, I just melted.
I'm gonna stop talking.
Yo, no, pull up the movie trailer.
But I realized that's what you're talking about, right? It's like these new.
Yeah,
it's like a new
the
wave
political
of ads.
machine of
It's
yeah.
a new wave of ads. It's weird.
Yeah.
Do you want me to pull that up?
No. Pull up the one.
What are you talking about, Brandon? What's it called?
Trump movie trailer.
Is that
See on the links.
on the links?
On the links.
We're just.
This is half of your job, Tunney.
We're jumping links.
No, we're not jumping links.
No,
we
we're not
went
jumping
from
links.
we went from.
Oh.
Oh, we are jumping a link.
You are jumping links.
This is your fault.
Oh yeah, fuck Tommy Lahren. We were gonna talk about how Tommy Lahren is making fun of Biden.
Well, can I just flash it then?
Yeah, put it up. I mean, I didn't want to talk about it because, you know, the more we talk about these conservative, like...
Yeah, the bigger head they get.
Yeah, but look at what she says.
Might as well carry a purse with that mask.
And
Joe.
play the video because...
It's a good video.
What the video?
It's a GIF. It's a GIF.
And like it's a hard video, honestly. Like, ooh, look at he kind
the
of speeds it up.
The zoom
Yeah,
speed. Oh yeah, and he fits it
next to a man who is taking his mask off as he enters the White House
after being in the hospital for 3 days with a very
with
deadly
coronavirus still. And as he walks in days later, he's got security officers.
Yes, this is what
testing
we wanted.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. This is silly.
Full screen that.
This is some silly.
Roll it back the 2 seconds too,
You know,
because it's important to get the full.
It's not like this guy is coming home from World War II. He's not coming home from saving lives. He's not coming home from saving puppies.
Oh my god.
This is the arrival, the official return of the coronavirus to our head household in this country. And it's being turned into,
Oh yeah, wave at us, dude.
like,
Yeah.
who is he, Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Yeah.
is Corona.
Triumphant return to the White House, dude.
There's corona in the video.
Yeah. Hey, no, I'm on Team Trump after watching this.
So
That really got me. I have to say that was emotionally rousing. That was a truly beautiful return.
If there was ever a finer example that our president is a showman, a movie star, a reality joke, that is it. Like,
If any Trump supporters are out there, and you probably won't get this, but, Return of the King.
Uh-huh. It is not in your authority
it's not even heroic. Like,
to deny the return of the king.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Lord of the Rings quote. See, this is.
It's okay, Brandon.
But anyway, we're talking about Trump killing. Let's talk about how Trump killed the stimulus talks, huh?
Shot him dead.
Trump on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday.
I think that was probably Tuesday, yeah.
He wrote, "I have instructed my representatives to stop negotiating until after the election when, immediately after I win." He's saying he's going to win.
Nice.
Which is hilarious, what I'm going to talk about in a second. But
Immediately after.
immediately after I win, we will pass a major stimulus bill that focuses on hardworking Americans and small business. This tweet was one of 40 made in a 2-hour time period. Before this tweet was sent, the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ were all trading higher, so they were going up. After this tweet was sent, the market dropped. The Dow Jones dropped 800 points.
Yeah.
In
hours.
Like an hour, or an hour and 30.
Because it was like towards the end of like the financial day too.
Yeah.
So it was like quick. You could see a fast drop, and then by the end of it was like 5:00. So the stocks closed, or however that works.
Yeah. They all ended the day around 2% lower than they were the day before.
Oh man, it's almost like the president and his messaging has a direct impact on our economy and lives.
It does, and then he walked it back. This is the best part for me. He says that the entire market crashes, and then he comes out the next day and he's like, "If Nancy Pelosi sends me a bill that is just stimulus for Americans, I will sign it immediately." It's like, dude, you just said end negotiations, and then like this cat walked from the table and then came back and said, "But if you give me something, I'll sign it."
It's the art of the deal, Peter. It's
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but he wants the $1,200 stimulus and new aid for airlines and other businesses hit hardest by the pandemic. That's all he wants. He doesn't want any of the radical leftist agenda or whatever. So we'll see what happens. But I guarantee you there won't be anything like that before the election. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he walks it back because he realizes that he just made like a campaign killing mistake.
Yeah.
Like 70%.
Well, how do you say in my last 30 days as president, I'm not going to work towards a deal.
I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
Do you think he didn't know about the markets crashing until he woke up the next day?
No, he knew. I'm sure he gets.
I think
all that stuff.
I think he knew immediately. He probably got.
But he waited to walk it back.
Why did you tweet that?
He didn't take a nap.
Yeah, maybe he could have very well taken a nap, but
ate a Big Mac and was like, this COVID's got me tired.
Well, in other crisis-based news, I'll say this is going to be a crisis-based episode. I hope everybody.
All our episodes are crisis-based
because I'm trying to keep my cool.
It's a crisis.
I hope I can keep my cool this episode, but I probably won't. But let's talk about what's happening in the Gulf Coast because they are just having a terrible time.
Hell of a year.
We have Hurricane Delta coming in right now. It's supposed to make landfall this weekend, like either tonight, tomorrow morning, Friday, Saturday. and it's already been like wreaking havoc on Mexico's coast because unlike most, hurricanes kind of come in through Florida and like kind of curve across Florida. This one actually came against Mexico. So it's
so it like rolled this way.
Yeah, it's rolling up Mexico.
Wow.
And so it just kind of knocked power out for like hundreds of thousands of people up the coast, but it's still gaining power because it didn't make landfall.
How many hurricanes is this year? Is this
I feel like it's probably like the 6th that's made landfall, but there's been other like
crazy.
tropical storms that like come and go.
That's crazy, dude.
And it's looking like it's gonna hit Louisiana directly. Because like I said, it's going up the coast of Mexico. So it hasn't made landfall. It hasn't calmed down. It's gaining power. So it's possibly going to turn into a Category 4, Category 5, 200-mile-an-hour winds, that kind of thing. Like extremely powerful. And there was a quote in this article on the AP News about how the governor was basically like the governor of Louisiana was really concerned because they're still rebuilding from the last hurricane that was about 2-3 weeks ago, and now they have this next even worse hurricane that is looking like it's going to make direct landfall with population centers. They're saying life-threatening surges again.
Yeah.
And it's just, do we have the systems in place to handle this? We already are fighting over stimulus. We're fighting over Supreme Courts. Is the federal government about to jump and save this?
I mean, look at what their lackluster response to the fires. I think that'll answer your question.
Oh, yeah, I don't think the science knows, actually.
Yeah.
So I think the hurricanes got it.
Yeah, the hurricanes. In fact, let's nuke the hurricanes. You remember when he said that?
Yeah.
He said, we should try intercontinental ballistic missiles to try to stop the hurricane.
Wrong. That was sarcasm. Obviously, Joe. You don't understand sarcasm.
That was like 2018, though, and that was kind of still early in his campaign for me. But it was crazy for that one because the scientists had to come out and say, actually, if you nuked a hurricane, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't even blow it. It would just add nuclear radiation. Like, you got scientists out here explaining why you can't nuke hurricanes.
Don't put bleach in your blood.
Look at what you got the scientists doing.
That's a silly joke.
Yeah. No, these poor guys. I feel
anyway.
terrible for the scientific elite.
Me at the beginning of the story. Don't lose your cool.
Yeah.
Me at the end of the story.
Losing Michael.
Loses cool. Let's see who's going to lose this election, though, because that's what's going to save me.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I did a lot of work over the weekend. And I have the official Peter Whitehead election prediction.
Yeah, don't put my name on it.
Oh, it's mine. It's mine. You didn't fucking work on it. Why would I put your name on it?
I just saw it today.
Yeah, so I did. I looked at some poll. I know people are talking shit on poll numbers. It's fine. I looked at some poll numbers. I looked at some on the ground stuff. I made a couple of judgment calls. Just based on my own understanding, which I do know is limited. But I think that this map will show up on election night or 7 days after election night, whenever they decide this election. But this is my official prediction. The key states to watch in this election, I believe, will be the Rust Belt. Like in 2016, that was such a shocker for us. So that's Michigan, Wisconsin. You want to watch Pennsylvania. Biden leads, but he basically needs that to win this election. He needs Pennsylvania. Florida, Biden actually leads in, but I don't think that's going to last. That's another state to watch for sure, is Florida. North Carolina, Arizona, and Texas, interestingly enough, is hovering on the mark.
I think it's interesting that Florida's in play because they just passed the law about the felons being able to vote. So that's like hundreds of thousands of new voters.
Yeah, I called it for the red because a lot of the talking points down there in Florida have to do with, they're really hitting the socialist side of the left right now. And as we know, the Latino population in Florida is predominantly Cuban Americans.
Oh yeah, no,
and
it's working.
They fear Castro. They fear Castro happening again.
I think
so,
Trump was actually winning. He was actually winning Latinos in Florida. Actually,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
No, he is for a fact winning.
So
But this is the way I see it. I see a 279 victory for Joe Biden. It's a close election though. Look at how close that is.
Yeah, personally, I do think there are some states that he can win. Like, Georgia is always a possible.
I think Pennsylvania and Georgia and North Carolina. No, North Carolina was the most interesting to me. He's leading in North Carolina. I called it for the red based on my own intuition with that. I didn't want too many surprises. This is like probably the most moderate approach to this campaign map that I've seen out there.
Yeah, it's not given too much for the Democrats. You're not doing like any lean.
No, in fact, I gave Trump every swing state save Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you gave him Arizona and everything too. I mean,
so
what did you think about what state is Lindsey Graham in? What state is he running in? Because there's that Senate race that's happening that's really contested.
Isn't that Kentucky? Or is that Kentucky's
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
No,
Graham is
running against a black guy named Jamie Harrison, and it's like 48 to 48.
Graham is it Carolina, I want to say.
It's north or south, but that's like one of the craziest Senate races because it looks like they're tied, and if we're turning Senate seats blue, it's South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah.
But
South Carolina's looking like it's going to go for Trump.
Yeah,
more solidly than North Carolina.
But if we have Jamie Harrison who can beat Lindsey Graham in the Senate in South Carolina, that means that we're having changing demographics, and maybe in one day it could be a blue state.
Well, I think that
also Lindsey Graham is definitely a special case. I don't know if that's about what you're about to say, but
that is what I was gonna say. Is that Lindsey Graham, with the amount that he has like just totally embarrassed himself on the national stage over the last couple of years, like I don't know. I think even diehard Republicans would be like, this guy's a clown.
For sure.
Like but yeah, that's my prediction. As I was talking to our producer before the show, Biden's leading nationwide by 15 points.
Extremely. And that's the second point.
Give or take.
Second poll with that like far ahead.
Yeah, so that's huge. That's a huge like for reference, Hillary was leading by 4 points at this time in the election in 2016.
Leading only by 2 points on election day.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I'm thinking that Biden's got a good grip on this election, and Trump is the one that's going to have to work here.
Biden's winning like 75% of women with a college degree.
Yeah.
That's like America. America is made up of women with a college degree. That is the main demographic. So
yeah, no,
I think Biden's good, honestly.
I think he'll do fine. If you guys want that election map that I did, I'm gonna have a link in the description down below for you guys, so you can click on that and spread it around and pretend that you're me.
Nobody wants your election map.
Some people want my fucking election map, Brandon.
Yeah, for their election parties.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Hey, let's take bets.
Stay home.
Yo, let's do this like fantasy football. Like we take bets on the swing states and shit, and by what margin, and
Peter,
I'm gonna set that up.
Peter, that already happened.
I'm gonna set that up.
That already happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna set that up for us though. Us three are gonna make bets. And there's gonna be like a $400 pool.
I don't have enough foresight for that. You're gonna win.
Yeah, probably. That's why I'm trying to get.
I'm not giving you my money.
Okay, we're gonna do it though.
Government.
Let's bet on the election and make money, and then pocket it, and then not tax it. It'll be like our own little scheme, like just for us. And of course, there'll be lives at stake and anything, but we can make money.
But we could make money.
You've said it online, so you can't.
No, we can make money.
This is a confession.
No, this is satire.
No, this is legal. This is all legal.
Play the definition of satire.
That's a pre-show joke.
That is a pre-show joke.
Anyway.
But yeah, so that's what it's looking like. And I think one of the things that is going to have an effect on this election is the way that we view taxes and the way that the president views taxes and how he uses the tax system to fund his lifestyle. Okay, so our sandwich today has to do with Trump and his tax returns, and then we're going to talk about the system that made way for people like this to get away with things like this.
We finally got him.
It's been 6 years? 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it started before the election.
Since, 5 years since that was called for. I think it was early 2015 that people were like, yo, show us your tax returns. He was like, no, I'm under audit. by the IRS, which he still says, by the way.
It's still under audit. That's
So what happened was,
a long audit.
and this is a bit of an older story, so bear with me. The New York Times was able to get a hold of some form of tax documents. They're protecting their sources, so we don't know everything regarding this, but we know that it's factual and true because we can trust the New York Times, apparently. And this is after many, 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 many years of speculation, conspiracy.
And drip drops
of information. Like we got just little bits about its tax. Like I remember we found out in late 2015 that in 1995, he filed losses of almost $1 billion, like $900 million dollars. And I remember we found that out early. I'm going to talk about that a little bit too, but so they're finally available for us. And it was in this New York Times expose. They wrote a whole bunch on it. I read through all of it, but I'm only going to give you the pieces that I think are important and the pieces that weren't covered enough by the major media. So I'm not going to talk about the $750 thing. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the big soundbite grabby stuff that they were talking about on the media because I think it's already been covered. And also I think it's not as big of a deal as they're making it.
It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
I mean, he did pay $750, but he also probably paid tax every time he got lunch.
Yeah. That's a good point. Sales tax.
Yeah. But I mean, that doesn't excuse some of the stuff we're about to hear.
Yeah. So let's talk about the tax returns here. First thing I'm going to talk about is the massive losses that occurred across the Trump empire since the 90s. Like, on God, I can't even contemplate how much money this man lost.
The numbers we're going to bring up this podcast are going to be insane.
Yeah, you're going to lose your cool. So according to the Times, which I will say a couple more times, Trump lost more money over the years than any other individual taxpayer. Literally no one else has lost as much money as this guy.
Is that according to the Times?
That's according to the Times.
I'm having fun now.
As I said earlier, in 1995, he reported losing $915.7 million in a single year. This generated a tax deduction that he could use for up to 18 years going forward. However, he only made it to 2005, only 10 years off of that little boost that he got when in 2004, The Apprentice started. We all know The Apprentice. I actually watched The Apprentice growing up. I liked it.
Thought it was real.
I mean, it was just it was like a game show. Like I didn't conceptualize like everything that was happening, but
yeah.
So that came out in 2004, and then the taxes on the money that he got for the signing bonus, the whatever wages he was receiving from that company for doing The Apprentice, he got taxed on, and this was the largest tax bite in his career, according to the Times. He paid $70 million in federal income taxes.
I think it's gnarly to find out that he really was only making money, like without the loans or whatever. The only thing he made money off of was his show.
It was The Apprentice, yeah. And so $70 million in federal taxes is no small change, like I will say. But comparative to the amount of money that he is moving around all the time, like that's like minuscule, man. And that's like his only major tax payment, federal income tax payment, in the last 25 years. So
yeah, I can't imagine what he's moving in the way of credit.
Yeah. So essentially, without getting too specific, because there's a lot of numbers that I could throw at you here, but I don't think that they will serve you. But I think will serve you is that Trump has been using his business losses as a form of a shield to protect him from paying what would be massive federal income taxes. The Times writes it as, and I think this is the soundbite. Like, if you were going to take one thing away from my segment, this would be it, okay? The Times writes, using the proceeds of his celebrity to purchase and prop up risky business, then wielding their losses to avoid taxes. This is the core of the entire Trump scheme, okay? He gets his celebrity monies, and then he invests it in risky businesses that will incur losses, and then he doesn't pay taxes.
And it looks like he spent all his money because he doesn't have money in his pocket. It's all in assets.
So yeah, that's what he's been doing, which, we can condemn him for that. I don't really as a like personally, because this is, I mean, it's the system that did this, right? Like the system is made this way. He's not cheating the system. He's using the system the way that it was prescribed to him. The biggest evidence of this is I think this got me angrier than anything that I read in that whole art. There was a whole article, and then there were offshoot articles. I read all of them. It was like 3 hours of reading. Okay. The thing that got me maddest was this right here. Take yourself back 12 years. Okay. Beginning of the Great Recession.
Put yourself there.
Put yourself there.
I'm going there too.
Think about where you were. Think about what situation your family was in. Maybe your parents lost jobs. Maybe you had to get out of your home to a cheaper home. All sorts of things were happening in that time that were extremely terrible for Americans. Crashing stock market.
Schools defunded.
Literally destroyed housing market. The highest unemployment since the Great Depression. This is where we're at. Okay, this is 2008, 2009. Donald J. Trump, a real estate mogul, takes massive losses. And he reports those losses to the federal government. Business losses, for those who don't know, and I wish I explained this a little bit earlier, actually, but they work kind of like a coupon. So this is the Times wording. $1 lost on one business reduces $1 of taxable income from elsewhere. The types and amounts of income that can be used in a given year vary, depending on an owner's tax status, but some losses can be saved for later use or even used to request a refund on taxes paid in the prior 2 years. So, as it says there, before 2009, you could only use these coupons on the backward side. So, like if you were going to use them to get a refund on the last couple of years of taxes that you paid, you could only use them for 2 years. But in 2009, Barack Obama signs the Recession Recovery Act, and there was a little known segment in there, a little provision that allowed business owners to use their losses to request a refund on the last 4 years. Now let's do some basic math real quick. The biggest tax bite of Donald J. Trump's life was in 2005, exactly 4 years prior to this piece of legislation being passed. So I will say it, and I say it all the time. Thanks, Obama.
Did he have to incur losses related to the, like, it doesn't have to be related, it didn't have to be connected, it didn't have to have proof. He just got it?
Yep. Well, he did have to have proof of his current losses.
Yeah, but I mean,
and he did lose a lot of money in 2008. Don't get me wrong. When the 2008 housing market crashed, he's a real estate guy. Like, he lost a lot of money. But basically, he was able to claim his losses in the 2008 recession and get back pay on taxes that he had paid as a result of The Apprentice and his Apprentice deal for the last 4 years. And this essentially allowed Trump to claim and receive $72.9 million in tax refunds in 2009.
Damn.
At the height of the Great Recession.
And that's not corporation money. That's refund in your pocket money.
The biggest financial crisis we saw since the Great Depression.
That's a direct deposit.
The federal government paid $72.9 million to a man who is rich as fuck while you were losing your home, while your parents were losing your jobs, while there were people out on the streets, while there were people who didn't know, what was going to happen with their 401ks. They lost their entire retirement savings. Donald Trump gets a fucking payday.
And it's not even like this guy is someone who is like, oh, I'm taking this money and I'm going to reinvest in my community. I'm going to give it back to the people, the less fortunate. Nope. It's probably still sitting there somewhere. It's sitting in some loan he got paid.
He used it to buy golf courses. I read it. He used that money.
No.
And the Apprentice money that he got back in the tax returns to buy more golf courses.
And I'm sure those golf courses were at a loss.
Yes.
Like,
you bet your ass, bro. He lost like 16 million on his European golf courses. There's 2 in Scotland, 1 in Ireland. 16 million in like 2014 or 2015.
My life. It's like, And like, what was the line from earlier? He's like the worst taxpayer of all time.
No, this is a quote. Trump lost more money over the years than any individual taxpayer.
Let's give him more.
So this man can lose money for his entire career and get a $70 million paycheck from the federal government during the biggest recession that this country has seen since the Great Depression. So that's what made me most mad. And that, like, the news media hardly covered that shit. They hardly covered it.
I feel like I didn't really hear about that. I mean, you kind of heard the 750 line for a while, and then I feel like that story washed away in time.
Yeah.
That story is gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, like, it's extremely frustrating to me that the wealthiest people get breaks like this while the working class Americans it sucks to be you. We're going to bail out the banks. You may lose your home. I'm sorry about this. And that's what they had. They had condolences. They had warm thoughts.
Prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
And it's like, these people are the same people that say that government is underfunded. The same people that say government doesn't work. But they're the same people defunding it and, also sometimes fashioning it in a way so that it works for them. Like, they'll literally grab it and bend it and, force it. So, these people are worse than just... I mean, you have to say, okay, it's the system that allowed him to do it, but he now is someone who is bending the system to his will.
Well, now as president, yes. I agree with you.
But, I mean, even back then, all of those wine caves and those like parties, those New York parties, like there's pictures of him and Hillary Clinton in the 90s. There's pictures like...
Was that Elizabeth Warren that said the wine cave stuff?
About who?
Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. But like it's all inside. They like, what did George Carlin say? He said, "It's all a big club and you're not in it."
That is what he said.
I mean, I think that's really just what it is. And and it's a two-tiered justice system.
Yeah. So like in final thoughts on the Trump stuff, I know that there's a lot in there, right? Like there's a ton in there that I could have talked about. Could still talk about, I'm sure those stories will continue to come up as we start to expose more of what is happening with this insane tax code. But I think what I take away from the Times more than anything isn't a condemnation of Trump, as much as, what you're saying is true. Him as president now, and even before with his, lobbyist spending or whatever else was going on with that, I don't think that we can blame Trump as a person. Like, Trump is what he is. He's a creature that was made to do what he is doing.
He was made by slimy New York.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
He was made to do what he is doing. So I don't blame him from this. But what I do blame here is this system. This system has serious, severe problems that need to be addressed. Because we can condemn Trump. We could sit here and, I don't mind. I'd love to condemn Trump. We could sit here and do that all day. But Trump is just a single person that uses this tax code.
Yeah. The tax code was there first.
The tax code was there first, and other people use it, and they use it in a similar fashion.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
It's a systemic problem, and it's a systemic problem that needs to be dealt with.
It's more than just our system, too. Like, these financial problems, like, my section kind of has the same issue. These financial problems are massive. They're global. The numbers, the processes, they're not really meant for us to understand. They want it to be confusing because it's... they don't want us to stop. They don't want us to get in the way. They don't want us to start asking questions. I mean, we're lucky that we live in America, but other countries' journalists literally get killed and poisoned. And, I mean, this stuff is serious when it comes to $70 million. But, I mean, that number is on the low scale of the numbers we're about to get into. Like,
for sure.
Like, this stuff is serious. And, I mean, I just hate the talking point that we always hear that, if we start acting tougher towards these rich people, or among the super wealthy, like, this isn't just your millionaire, your 10 millionaire. This is your 100 millionaire, your Bloombergs, your Bezos. These people, like, they always say the rich are gonna move out. They'll leave the country if we raise taxes. That sounds like complete nonsense to me because, they'll still have property here. They'll still have to do business in New York. They'll still have to do business in our country. So no matter what, we will get our slice, and we just need to put that in the law that no matter where your country is located, you need to report back to at least a home country. Once you start finding out that some of these companies don't even consider themselves to have a home country, it's crazy, you know. So you see that there seems to be like this waning alliance to the U.S. dollar. You know, like they're very willing to go overseas and, you know, get these tax breaks because, you know, these tax breaks that are written into the U.S. law are good. But you could go to the Cayman Islands, you could go to Ireland, you could, you know.
There are places that don't even have taxes.
Yeah, I mean, like
there's like that city-state in
there's Luxembourg.
Europe. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Luxembourg was mentioned a lot. And a lot of this is a lot of it is Eurocentric because the U.S. does actually have a lot of better policies than specifically the U.K. But the problem with that is that this is a global system, and a lot of that global system is reliant on turning euros and Russian rubles into US dollars. So that is a main function of the banks because, you know, for legitimate functions, it is necessary for governments and businesses to turn money, European money into US money for stock exchanges and that sort of thing. So I'm glad you brought up the 2008 bailout because it's easy. It's an easy sign for us. It's one of our generation's like first extremely public like financial case misconduct, and it was huge. I mean, it shut down the world's economy. It started a Great Recession.
Yeah,
and it was due to banks, you know, purposefully lying to their customers and lying to the public. And just the reality that we were faced with, that our banks have more power, and they're living in this whole world above us, sending money across, and we're just here dealing with it, and we're in a recession because of them. And like, I don't know if we've had a straight direct example like that before.
Probably not. No. Yeah.
And I think it's something I found researching this. I didn't know you were also going to talk about 2008, but something I found researching was that there was only one bank charged in that crisis. When there's all these banks doing these faulty loans. We've kind of talked about it a few times. I think people kind of know the basics.
Go watch The Big Short. If you don't know what happened in the 2008 housing market crisis, go watch The Big Short.
Bad loans with good loans. Here's all loans.
Yes, essentially.
But there was an extreme case of a family bank, family-owned, family-run. They served a Chinese immigrant, Chinatown. Their express goal was being a resource for the community. And I just wanted to pull up this picture from the New York Times showing how they had these people walking through the DA's office. If you click on the picture, it'll go full screen, and it'll look a little better. So they're chain ganged, and they're trying to create this image of them, you know, helping out Chinese immigrants. This espionage case, this foreign nationals immigrant bias case. Like, look at them. Like, if they were shirtless black guys, it would be extremely clear what the message is.
Yes.
It would be extremely clear that they are subhuman, they are below respect, they are below decorum. And you know what?
I do have to say, though, people were looking for somebody to get punished in the 2008 crisis.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. You know, if it's true that there's like some of these other banks I'm going to talk about, if it's true that they're really, you know, lying to their customers and, you know, doing these nefarious practices, then maybe they do deserve some of that. But what it seems like is that they were kind of more accustomed to handling the elderly Chinese immigrant population, which was more kind of a pro bono. I know you work here, so like I know your place is busy, so I'm comfortable giving you a loan, even if you might not have like the exact, equity to back it up in the most professional American way. That is actually something a little different. They had a run on the bank at there. That's something a little different.
There's a lot of that going on in that time period.
But yeah, so they were also victims of that. But it's just crazy that the government was unable to see that they were a special case, and they used their special case to turn it into this messaging of hating like lower class people while banks are getting away with it.
Yeah.
The only bank charged with this small bank.
And they were all doing it. I mean, the bank that you probably go to, unless you go to a small scale like credit union somewhere, was doing this shit. Like all the big names you can think of, bro. Chase,
JP
Morgan,
Wells Fargo,
yeah.
Citibank,
Yes.
HSBC, Bank of America. And the craziest part of that story is that Abacus Federal Savings Bank, they were actually acquitted. So they went through that entire show, and only one person
chain ganged.
Only one person was charged. Only one person was found guilty because it was the one person that actually did it. So I feel like, I mean, also it shows that they're able to go through the process. They're able to, be really tough on companies, but they're only willing to do it when it's someone small, when it's someone who they feel is small enough to jail.
For sure.
And
isn't that true like regularly in our criminal justice? If you're
Exactly.
small enough to jail,
Exactly.
you can't afford your bail, right? You can't afford a good lawyer. You're going to prison.
Yeah. And I'm gonna come back to that. I feel like it's a good example of two-tiered justice. How they were chain ganged and walked through the New York DA's office.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Recently, a report came out, a mixture of a BuzzFeed, but also the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, about some disclosed Treasury documents. This is actually a super big deal because someone was arrested for disclosing these documents to BuzzFeed. So that already shows how important this is. So the BuzzFeed report was written by Jason Leopold and Anthony Cormier. I wrote that down specifically because they talked about how the FBI called Jason Leopold a FOIA terrorist. FOIA is basically the Freedom of Information Act. Oh, it's FOIA. I wrote that wrong. FOIA. Yeah. The Freedom of Information Act, which basically means that you could basically call up any department and ask for documents. And basically a year later, they came back to Jason with with some basic files on this. And then his inside source was able to really reveal the deeper, thing that was going on here. On a bigger note, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism organized a team of more than 400 journalists from 110 news organizations in 88 countries to investigate the world of banks and money laundering. And the documents come from the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, which is a part of the Treasury Department. And I'm saying that to show that this is a seriously reputable group. Like, this is not just a conspiracy. This is not your random guy. And basically, the report revolves around these things called SARs, suspicious activity reports.
Oh yeah, we love those. I have to file one on Brandon every week.
Oh, HR, I'm sorry. Jerry, I'm sorry. No, just kidding.
Shout out Jerry.
But the suspicious activity reports basically is a process that the bank goes through when they see a transaction that can be maybe a huge transaction or maybe a ton of small ones or just anything suspicious. They have the power to mark it, and that mark will go straight to FinCEN, the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, which is, like I said, a part of the Treasury Department. So basically what this report is revealing, and it's a mixture of old stories with new substance. These documents, these SARs, are key to prosecuting these cases. So basically the process they went through is they get this disclosure of these documents, and it's hundreds of thousands of pages, millions of numbers, endless data, and they don't know where to start with it. So of course they're going to try to just start with some name brands, some easy headlines that they can grab. So of course, where would they start? Donald Trump, Manafort, and the Trump campaign. And because also Jason Leopold was the person who revealed certain things like, oh yeah, this is involved in the FOIA part, but he's also the person who revealed the Hillary Clinton email scandal and WikiLeaks, because he is just very, very adamant about the freedom of information. So these are some people would say that is like, oh, I don't know if I like that guy, but he is unbiased. He's principled about releasing information, which I
Yeah.
Which I definitely.
I mean, he's just straight freedom of information, right? Like, and
Yes.
if that's your one issue, I mean, I guess he's doing what he would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not partisan. He wants the truth out, and he's definitely for the public being able to make their own decision. So basically what they found when they went into the Trump campaign records, they found 40 SARs relevant directly to the Trump campaign. And they also found 8 directly relevant to Manafort. And, you know, we already know that they are doing very suspicious things. There's tons of reporting about that. But what this new report is revealing is that these SARs have been in the Treasury Department for years. They've had these numbers, they've had these documents, they've had the names, they've had Deutsche Bank, they've had the money going from Manafort to Deutsche Bank to offshore companies. All of this can be shown by Deutsche Bank's SARs, suspicious activity reports that they themselves made on their own clients. So this is when we get into, is an SAR really an effective way to stop crime? You know,
It would appear not.
if you have someone who is laundering money and you're like, oh no, I'll flag it. Okay, I'm done. It seems like that's what was happening a lot. And
I mean, I think that's more of a failure of the Treasury Department than of those companies, right?
Yeah.
Because the Treasury Department does have power to prosecute. So
Yes.
if they're given those documents and they see that a certain thing is happening, like they should at the very least open an investigation.
It's up to them to make the case because
Yeah.
they have the proof. And something that the CEO of Abacus Federal Savings was saying, that he's making a financial institution his main, and this is a good guy. He was a very sweet, community focused guy. He said his dream was to be like the guy from It's a Wonderful Life.
Aw.
Yeah. He was saying his main goal was to give and serve the community. He's not worrying about policing the community. And I don't think the bank should be in charge of policing the community.
No.
But
Just like social media apps should not be in charge of policing.
I was also thinking about that same connection because tech companies are kind of going through the same thing of having a cloud economy. But we're going to get more into that. But so they're just able to, mark it off and nothing changes. And that gets really worse when you connect it to some of the companies that were revealed to be doing extreme wrongdoing during the 2008 crisis. And I say that HSBC, which was one of the main banks during the financial crisis, they went through a second crisis in 2013, 2014, when it was revealed. This is, like I said, this is an old story that's backed up by new substance. It was revealed that HSBC was basically laundering money for not only Mexican Sinaloa cartels. Yeah. They were also laundering money for named by the FBI sanctioned terrorist organizations, Iran nationals who had connections to Hezbollah. And then something I found out after I talked to you earlier was that there's also connections to Al Qaeda in this HSBC laundering money. And I can just say that, but also they admitted to this. They admitted to a plea deal, but it wasn't a guilty plea. What they received was a deferred prosecution. You ever heard of that?
Nope.
You ever heard any of your friends getting a deferred prosecution?
Nope. My friends are in jail.
I don't know if you have any friends in jail.
I have a single friend in jail.
But it's insane that they admitted to this wrongdoing. They said, we did this. We hired people who did wrongdoing. We knew about it, and we allowed it to continue. A long admission. All they received was a $1.9 billion fine and a deferred prosecution period of like 5 years, which is basically like probation. They were forced to start like a non-compliance board, but that non-compliance board was shown to be pretty empty and pretty just ineffective.
Toothless.
Also, 1.9 billion is about a month of profit for them, about 5 weeks of profit for them. So they basically easily paid that. It was a scratch. And just to show that they didn't follow any compliance, they continued to transfer money for like criminals who were being investigated by state prosecutors, like this Chinese national who moved to the U.S. He was running some sort of Ponzi scheme, and getting a lot of money from Chinese people, but then just kind of spending it on himself in America. And basically, even though he was starting to be investigated by different state regulators, they weren't allowing him to do business in the country anymore. Literally, the government was allowing him to send money out of the country to his Hong Kong bank accounts. And HSBC totally facilitated this. And they didn't stop it. They signed SARs, but all of those, he was allowed to send his money away. He has not done any jail time.
This is some shit, man.
I'm
glad I didn't read this before you started. I'm glad that my reactions are like fucking real time. Because this is some shit.
It's crazy because it's worse than the bank bailout.
Yeah.
Drug cartels.
Al-Qaeda.
Terrorists. And I mean, there's also rumors about how it was connected, how, not HSBC specifically, but Deutsche Bank, they might have connections to like Jeffrey Epstein and some of his, mysterious money. So that's a little less founded, but there is a case going on involving that in New York. So this is all seriously happening. And back to HSBC and Deutsche Bank too. I mean, these are foreign companies. These are not American companies. But like I was saying earlier, the U.S. dollar is so important. Like the world runs on it. So it's vital that they're able to access our markets. And even though HSBC itself is a British company, they spent $2.3 million in lobbying American politicians yearly.
2.32 billion.
You're right. I've been talking a lot. So let's see how much of this article I want to get into. There's so many nuances and like little details with these financial crimes. So I think it's important to get some of these real numbers so you can just kind of get the scale. This is super groundbreaking new information, so please stay focused while I read through the ICIJ's analysis of these documents. They found in their documents that they identified more than $2 trillion in transactions between 1999 and 2017 that were flagged by SARs as possible money laundering or other criminal activity. The number one company at that is $1.3 trillion at Deutsche Bank.
Hell yeah.
Which is an insane freaking number. Because you have to imagine all the times they didn't check it off. And then $514 billion at JP Morgan. Estimates by the UN Office on Drugs and Crime indicate that $2.4 trillion in illicit funds are laundered by banks each year. Which is
2.4 what?
$2.4 trillion in illicit funds.
Oh my God.
Wait. And that's just what's laundered, which would be the equivalent of about 2.7%. 2.4 trillion in illicit funds is laundered. I'm repeating it.
Yes.
But the agency estimates that authorities detect less than 1% of the world's dirty money.
So that's only 1% of the world's
That's
dirty
just
money?
what's
2.4
laundered.
trillion?
That's just what's getting passed through the banks, Peter. And that's just a guess. Like they indicate it. That's just we think. The report states that governments lose $500 billion a year through corporate profit shifting, which is, offshore banks. Are you listening?
I can't stop listening.
Please stay focused. $7 trillion in private wealth is squirreled away in tax havens. And that's in total.
I'm going to ask Dave to put these numbers up over your heads so that they can get a comparison.
Yeah, you can probably put that down now.
How large these zeros look.
But look at how far ahead Deutsche Bank is. Like, that in itself is criminal. But
yeah. No, it's like almost a full trillion ahead.
$7 trillion in wealth is in tax havens. Some of 10% of the world's GDP is held offshore. And around 1.6 trillion is laundered every year. And that number is co-signed by another number later. The SARs reviewed by ICIJ and its partners include 73 reports between 2012 and 2017 by HSBC. The documents contain information on more than 4.4 billion in 10 years of transactions reported as suspicious. So that says that HSBC reported 4.4 billion in suspicious. And it's crazy because the
I'm
reason
getting sick to my stomach, Brandon.
yeah, like you said, you read 3 hours today. I was reading this all day. Like, it's so groundbreaking. Because the only reason we have so much information about HSBC is because they were doing it so blatantly, and they obviously got caught. You can only imagine what's going on in Deutsche Bank. Only imagine what's happening. They have not 10 times, but 4.4 billion compared to 1 trillion. A massive difference in suspicious activity. Leaked records show that HSBC processed at least 31 million between 2014 and 2015 for companies later revealed to move stolen government funds from Brazil. More than 292 million in funds between 2010 and 2016 for the Panama Papers, based organization, which was branded by U.S. authorities as a major money launderer for drug cartels.
Oh my God.
Like, they're branded as it, and they continue to move the money. The organization, Vita Panama, denies the wrongdoing, is fighting that designation, but the records also show that they worked with another Russian bank that had an advisory warning. I'm still going.
Dude.
Yeah, like, this is all on record, and they continue to do it. They had warnings. The government was flagging them. See, the only problem is that the government isn't literally coming in and grabbing the switch or turning the lights off, coming in and turning your Xbox off. You're still playing the game. The FinCEN Files, the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, raises new questions about the U.S. Justice Department's decision in 2012 to forego indicting HSBC or any of the bank executives in that Sinaloa cartel case. The decision was opposed by lower rank-and-file prosecutors who had prepared a list of up to 175 criminal charges against the bank that the government had ultimately shelved.
So they know they're complicit.
They prepared a list, Peter, and the government said no. Hold up. Because, hold up. The findings also raise questions about the Justice Department's decision to 5 years later pronounce that HSBC had reformed and allowed its deferred prosecution to end. This isn't written here, but later they went on another deferred prosecution. So they got like 2 other deferred prosecutions. An executive for HSBC who asked to speak anonymously for fear of retaliation by the bank identified Hong Kong as the epicenter of the bank's financial crime problems and said that the issues there had remained largely untouched during the monitorship.
Bro.
So even as the U.S. is making progress, the U.S. is opening compliance offices and HSBC branches. There is an entire global structure of HSBC by itself, but then the entire global structure of all of the banks have so much financial power that their executives are afraid to say stuff. Whistleblowers are afraid to say stuff. The government
is afraid to prosecute.
I'm kind of going to say that a little later, but secret files show that banks handling cross-border transactions have sometimes, but it's revealed that most of the time, have little idea who they're dealing with, even when they're shifting hundreds of $millions. These shell companies, these offshore companies are very effective at hiding the owners. It's extremely easy for you to start one company, that company starts a company, company starts a company, and they trade with each other, and now you're making money and you're flipping it. Like, it's really convoluted for the everyday person to understand, but they are taking, I'm gonna skip that. They are taking so much money out of circulation and sending it to one man's pocket. A top regulator from the U.S. says that dirty money has metastasized within the global hacking system.
That's a
like
$100 word.
Cancer. It's cancer, Peter. That's what metastasizes.
Yeah, metastasizes.
What's the definition?
Of a cancer spread to other sites in the body by metastasis.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the end of what I'm going to read from the report. But like you said about your article, I'm sorry.
You're
there
excused.
Tons of different reports, tons of different avenues that this goes down. You could focus specifically on how it affected Africa, how it affected Asia, how it affected the slums of Europe, how it affected the
We should
slums
just
of
do 10-hour shows, dude.
Dude, that's what I was saying reading this. Like, we sometimes I want to do a 3-hour show because then I'm going to bring in the clips of them like rioting in Europe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing here, but then you realize that the US sometimes has better policies at handling it. And that even if we begin to reform the US, these global financial structures are still going to be moving and hustling in the way they will.
But I mean, it's difficult for us to find reform because of how like fucked up our system is to begin, like our political system, right? Like,
oh yeah, there's even like it's kind of into conspiracy territory because I don't know how effective these global boards are, but apparently there's the Financial Stability Board, which is a global, unaccountable board, and it has members from our Treasury Department, members from the UK Treasury Department, and basically this FSB department, which is, its own thing, they were the ones that said that HSBC is financially, it is a necessary part of the economy, and that if they were to prosecute, it would be, a dramatic negative effect on our economy. And it was actually UK investors and not investors, but regulators and people who held office, like Department of Treasury people in the UK, were saying that this would affect global prices. So it wasn't, just American people. It's a global, it's a global conspiracy to protect HSBC. I didn't find out if any of these people had like direct donations or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah.
Because the banks are one of the biggest political donors that we have, and it makes it real.
Yeah.
And then having the customer keep coming back is real.
Yeah.
So, having the ability to keep your bank open, just it's more financially viable for these companies to continue taking this illegal money rather than doing the right thing and, maybe even like the same thing with paying the fines. They're okay with paying a fine when they're making $100 billion.
Yeah.
So it's really all about just keeping the doors open no matter what. And these people are arrogant and they know what they're doing. And it's built to, take power away from little people because the money, this is like income inequality at its roots, because these people make millions and millions of dollars off of commission. Every time a trade happens, every time somebody puts money in the bank, I'm going to get a percentage of it. So, of course, I'm not going to ask questions. Like, especially my boss isn't going to ask questions because he's making, 100 times what I make, and I'm making millions. So there's so much money just moving through these businesses, and not only through these businesses, but through our government, because they're political spending.
The tax refunds
And
I talked about.
not only just our government, but global governments. So no other story shows you the power dynamics that exist within our country like these bank stories. And it's generally just hard to indict people for these kind of crimes because, when you're talking about, okay, he moved money from Hong Kong and put it over there, and then he went to Russia and put it over there, and he lives in the U.S., but he spends most of his time in the Cayman Islands. It's like, where does he live? Where do I tax him? Which house is his main house? Which, there has become a certain class of people that exist above our prehistoric, understanding of nationality.
Yeah.
And home.
Yeah.
If all of my money exists in stocks and trades, do I have a home bank? Do I have a wallet? All of my money is in the matrix, in this cloud, in this fake, this back room. It's hard to explain. It's just something I heard in one of the documentaries I watched because I've just been so engrossed in this story. Someone explained it like, what was I gonna say?
You were quote from a documentary. Somebody explained it. I love it when Brandon fucks up.
It was a Bugatti. It was
It's
fairy
It's
dust.
fairy dust. It's not fucking real. You got it, Brandon. Just continue what you were saying.
I have no idea what the sentence before what I was saying was, but
I don't either.
There's
If it comes
just
back, it comes right after this cut.
no, but seriously, what was it?
Yeah, what was it, dude?
Oh, the cloud.
He remembered.
Thank you. Yes,
That was 25 minutes.
yes. It was about 3 minutes. It was not that long.
No, it was like a minute. Yeah, don't let
Cloud.
You can't tell behind the cut.
me. Yeah.
This fugazi thing that Matthew McConaughey was kind of getting at has existed long before clouds became a real technological term. Before the cyberspace, before the Matrix was a real thing, we have always had companies who hide documents and they have backroom deals and they trade money in secret ways without reporting it to the government. The difference now is that we do have the power with departments like FinCEN from the Department of Treasury. We have the agencies in power to, flip a switch and start indicting these criminals because, like I said, we have the numbers. They had the numbers for Trump. They had the numbers for Manafort. They had the numbers for HSBC. They had the numbers for Deutsche Bank. All of this stuff is sitting in an office in the Department of Treasury, and maybe they're underfunded. Maybe they just need some more workers over there that can just organize the cases.
That very well could be, or they're complicit.
Yeah, I mean, once you realize how much, not only legal money but illegal money, the 2.4 trillion illicit funds money is insane.
Every time you say that, I like my whole stomach churns. Dude.
Because that's cocaine money. That's
Pablo Escobar type money.
It's the worst money in the world.
Yeah.
And these banks are allowing it to come in and move through because there's no one really to stop it. Like, as was shown clearly by the HSBC story, which is why it's so, it's such a great example. Even if it's not an American company, it is run here because the U.S. dollar is so important. Without, spending too long just, melting over how dramatic this is, because I could do it all day. Like, there's other companies that we didn't even get to. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just the clearest example. We should start talking about what we think are some solutions to this problem, because what Eric Holder was saying, I don't know if you should play that clip. I think you should probably play it right now. Can you play the Eric Holder Too Big to Jail clip? Yeah, this is
side of the government in making determinations with regard to HSBC. Now, if you just put that aside,
because I got some
concerns.
concerns.
That you have raised is one that I frankly share, and I'm not talking about HSBC.
I'm concerned about big money.
Not be appropriate, but I am concerned that the size of some of these institutions becomes so large that it does become difficult for us to prosecute them when we are hit with indications that if you do prosecute, if you do bring a criminal charge, it
indication
will have
from the
a
UK
negative
government
impact on the national economy, perhaps even the world economy. And I think that is a function of the fact
UK
that
independent
some
government
of
members.
these institutions have become too large. And again, I'm not talking about HSBC. This is just a more general comment.
He's not talking about HSBC. He's talking about the larger financial
on our ability to bring resolutions that I think would be more appropriate. And I think that
clearly
is something
understands.
that you all need to consider. So the concern
Stop
that you
there.
raised is actually one that
He clearly understands the problem that, one, banks are way too large. Two, their becoming too large has blocked me from handing out the appropriate sentencing. And three, I understand that this is it's nonsense, because it's just a talking point, like I mentioned earlier, that seems to be handed to him from regulators from London, where HSBC is located. So it really does seem like there is some corruption happening behind this case. And this is, once again, one of the smaller banks, like Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan, were astronomically ahead of these groups. Mm-hmm. Finally, I think my solution would be that multinational corporations need to be taxed as one corporation. When you have companies like Apple and Google who are allowed to, diversify their losses. Like you mentioned earlier, $1 lost in one place is $1 saved or something like that.
Yeah.
So they'll say, oh, I lost money in America, but we made a lot of money in Ireland. Or, we lost a lot of money in Germany, but we made a lot of money in the UK.
So you would say that the way to do it is to tax, like each country tax all of their wealth.
So what people were suggesting, and this is not me. I'm not some kind of tax expert. They were suggesting that it needs to become an international effort because this has become a global problem. We could fix every tax law here in America, and they would still move money out to other countries, and the other countries would still be losing out.
Yeah.
So basically, they were explaining that it's important that it's just each country needs to work together that their proportion of the revenue is being met. It's not like, okay, he's from America, was born there, so I get most of the money. No, if I did 15% of my business there, I'll give you 50% of my total tax revenue. And there was also ideas about having one stable tax rate, which means like throughout the globe, your company would have this tax rate, and it would become sort of like an international tax board. Like this requires radical solutions because this money is literally bigger than governments.
Yeah.
It is.
It's way bigger.
So it can't just be, oh, we'll sign a bill and Nancy Pelosi will rip a paper in half and we'll be okay.
You love bringing that shit up.
I don't know why I did. I don't know. But, it's crazy that this monster, compare it to a $10 bill. Compare it to your lunch. Compare it to, what you are personally freaking out about in your personal financial life. $100 for your rent. $100 for your car. There are companies just blowing trillions of dollars illegally, and they're allowing it, and it's happening today, right now, this entire time. And this money's being taken away from low-income people. Like, that money could easily go to start upstarts in low-income communities and just building up the economy from the ground up, ending trickle-down economics that have fundamentally not worked and are just an excuse for these these companies to just take drug money, and they're like, oh, we'll trickle it down. No, they're just cutting taxes, and they're running away with the money. They're running away with it.
Yeah, to Cayman Islands.
Oh, yeah. Also, I forgot to mention that stat.
Which
the entire Cayman Islands could sink. Like, literally, it sinks because of, hurricanes and the likes. And it would still be the fourth the Cayman Islands could sink, and it would still be the fourth largest financial center. Something.
No, you fucking done it. You
that was
headphones.
me. That was me. I was like, man, Tunney over there breaking stuff.
Jeez.
Oh, does that look broken? No, that's not broken.
No, it's chilling. We just got to put it back on the table.
The fourth largest financial center, and it has $1.6 trillion hosted there, and none of it is actually held in the Cayman Islands. It's just moving around in transactions, to and from. It has no stable place. It has no jurisdiction. It has no location. It's in the cyberspace. Mm-hmm. It's a new playing field.
The Matrix.
It's a new playing field, and we need new laws, and we need an upgrade to the systems that we have in place to hold these companies accountable.
I think we need Joe Biden.
And don't make me make this about me not feeling like Joe Biden. Like, the problem with the debate to me was that I'm reading about financial crimes, trillions of dollars being flushed into bank accounts, and we're watching a debate about two people just avoiding the question and just like stammering and just awkwardly, like.
Yeah, but Mike Pence doesn't think systemic racism is real.
Oh, of course. But what about the banks? What about the bank?
Yeah, I think you'll find it pretty hard to look at either of the side, and this is where a little bit of my radicalism comes out. But you'd be hard pressed to find either side trying to fix like the financial system.
Yeah, I mean the politicians are bankrolled by the same people. Like what's making the politician different from the CEO of a bank who's trying to make some connections?
The CEO doesn't have to be elected.
That wasn't a very good. Yeah, but you see what I mean? Like they're another laundering opportunity for these companies. Like, oh, I'll donate to the politician, and that'll turn it into legal money. And I kind of tried to close it out a little earlier, but I'll say it again. We have the technology, we have the systems in place. The Department of Treasury had these documents. We just need to start making it happen. And we can do that through voting. Voting in, a DA who is going to prosecute the right people. And voting in, judges and sheriffs who are going to be, lenient to, the small drug crime. There's people in life sentences for drugs, but the banks are trafficking drugs. And I could keep repeating it, but I'm done. We have the technology and we need to enforce laws now because the money needs to be given to the people. We can't say that we're in a deficit and the money is sitting around.
Yeah, well, it's not.
Hold on, but then exactly. The money is not just sitting around. Drug companies are propping up the economy. What was that? Illicit funds represent it was like 10% of the world's economy is offshore, which means that there is a larger part of the economy that is non-existent because it's just not being captured.
Yeah.
And drug dealers aren't propping it up. What is actually happening? Yeah, that's a mistake. I didn't mean to say that. What's actually happening is that we're missing so much money that is, deservedly
legalize drugs and tax them.
See, but then you can't just legalize drugs because then we'll have, the Pfizers, we'll have the Oxycontin, the people,
right.
The same people, like the drug cartel will just buy a suit and they'll be official now.
I don't know if it works like that, but
I think it might. I think they might just, become official. So I don't know exactly what the solution is to this, but I am here to bring up one of what I think is probably one of the largest problems in our world right now. We do not have the power. The end.
We shall not have power.
I haven't felt very good today.
Yeah, me neither, man. I mean, this financial stuff just makes me feel bad. You know what makes me feel good?
What's that?
The milk.
I like milk. I need some sweet relief for the milk.
Sweet relief. Well, no, what did I say today? What did Tunney say today?
A long gulp.
The long relieving gulp. Long relieving gulp. So let's get into that. All right.
That's a gulp.
All right, so originally we were going to do only Keanu Reeves stories in the milk, but we decided against it because we thought that was like a little too much. So only our first story
I was not asked about that. I would have been in favor.
You would have been in
We consolidated them.
Yeah, we consolidated them to a single story so that it wasn't 5 Keanu Reeves stories, but go ahead.
The main reason I wanted to talk about Keanu Reeves is because I saw just today I learned really. Mm-hmm. This was what sparked it. Mm-hmm. I learned that Keanu Reeves, he felt that our country was so systemically racist and felt that the world would not accept him for his name. Pretty, standard name, honestly, to me.
It's a little weird.
Keanu Reeves. I mean, it's kind of...
Reeves isn't that weird, but Keanu certainly is.
It's kind of Hawaiian, maybe, but, basically the story was that Keanu Reeves felt so much pressure that he actually considered getting a Hollywood name change, changing his name to Chuck Spadina. Hollywood
Spadina.
Chuck Spadina.
Could you imagine?
That's a worse name.
It would not have stuck.
Starring in John Wick, Chuck Spadina.
It's so terrible.
Yeah, it sounds like it was made 30 years ago.
Yeah, very standard. Like
That's a '90s movie.
John
I never
Wayne.
wanted to see. Hey, don't bring it. Don't.
John Wayne
Don't
and Chuck
rope-
Spadina.
No, don't rope John Wayne into this.
Look,
that's
it's the
even
same kind of
That's
name.
even longer ago.
John Wayne and Chuck Spadina in Badass Guys.
John Wayne literally was making his debut as like movies were gaining sound. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you
That's
can't.
like 60s?
That's a fact.
It's like, yeah, it was
60s.
60s.
But
You really got to retake a film class.
I am in a film class. But Keanu Reeves deserves
Hold on,
appreciation.
hold on. When do you think films got sound?
No, for real? You want my real answer?
Yes.
Yeah, what's your good guess?
The 10s. Like 1910s, before the First World War.
I want to say no.
I have to say the
Because-
10s and the 20s.
Well, because
I
for
think
the
it was
most
the
part,
20s.
it was just music behind.
yeah.
I think it was
It
the
started.
20s.
It
Well,
started
are we
with the
going-
jazz singer. And I'll just look this
Yeah,
up.
see, here we are talking shit
As-
on Brandon,
as
and
the
neither of us
Yeah,
know.
I actually know. And I just, I'm just not trying to talk about the intricacies of
Chuck
sound
Spadina.
editing. But the reason I
The
brought it up
jazz
is because he's
singer was
also...
1927.
I fucking told you. Said it was
Oh,
the 20s.
wow, I was wrong.
I fucking told you, dude.
Keanu Reeves deserves appreciation.
Certainly wasn't the 60s. Yeah,
He-
Keanu Reeves does deserve appreciation.
It's a crazy thing to say. That movie started getting sound in the 60s. That's nonsense. I can't
Brandon,
believe I
think
said
you're
that.
thinking about how most Americans at that point were starting to get TVs.
No, I'm
TV
just not thinking.
Well, the 50s were making TVs a staple. The 60s were when everyone really could get a TV.
Can somebody explain to me why they put Keanu Reeves in a video game?
Yeah, well,
this is
'cause
a
he's-
movie star.
He's a
We
big
got
star.
a city to burn.
He's also not the
samurai.
first one. Keith David is in all sorts of video games.
Oh,
Like
that's-
Keith
yeah.
David is in the original Modern Warfare. He's
Well,
in.
who put Keith Urban in a video game?
I didn't say Keith Urban. For Christ's sake, Keith David. But what? Yeah, the Call of Duty games have been doing it for like fucking
Oh.
years. They put major movie
They just
stars
put
in
Reagan
there.
in it
Yeah,
or Nixon.
no,
Was it
no.
One of those
Reagan?
major movie
It was
So one of
stars.
them.
Nixon and Reagan are in
They had-
Call of Duty games.
We gotta get rid of it.
Oh! Are you talking about like that zombie mission? in
We gotta
Blackmon?
get rid of the black guys.
Oh.
Get rid of the hippies right now.
Calm down, John.
Call of Duty.
Calm down, Rick. It's
sit-
just the storm.
No, sit down, Dick.
Sit down, Dick.
No. It's just the storm, Dick. Sit down. That's what it is.
But
You can't have that. That's mine.
Keanu Reeves is important to me because mostly he is a Virgo. He was born in September.
I also hear from my girlfriend who's into auras now that he has a crystal aura, which is the most rare of auras, and
it's Virgo
apparently
shit.
it means that.
I don't even know what that means.
Virgo.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, Tunney.
It's Virgo shit.
Apparently, it means that this is their first time on this planet. So that essentially, in a past life, they were a different type of being.
Iconic.
Yeah, so that's Keanu Reeves, and that's why he's like a little socially awkward, and he walks around.
Oh my God, let's
like-
look up our auras.
I'm not looking up. She says I'm like a green red or something.
How do we find that?
What
Oh
does
my
that
God,
mean?
aura time.
I'm not looking up the aura.
Milk
Aura.
tangent.
I'm moving to the next
milk
story unless you have
tangent.
something else to say about Chuck Spadina.
I want text now.
No,
Okay.
don't do that.
Take your phone off that table.
But the next milk story is just a little cute feel good story.
Yeah,
There
that
was-
story had a theme. That story was supposed to go somewhere, but the Keanu Reeves didn't go anywhere.
didn't go anywhere. I'm on to the next one.
Can we go back?
No more Dick Spadita.
Keanu Reeves is a Virgo. He was born in September, much like me. We are both under the both same star sign, and we are star children. He is my Saturn square, and I am in direct from Mars. But during the Mars retrograde, we are actually going backwards, and that'll last until November 4th, one day after the election. I think it's interesting that the Mars retrograde is ending one day after the election. Anyway,
Yeah, so in feel good news, there was an unexpected arrival on a plane.
Oh, what's that?
It's a baby. It was born
like
in
a
the middle
piece of
of a
poop.
flight. Dude. That thing's fucking adorable. Look at it.
can you
It's got a little blankie.
yeah, give me a full screen picture.
Did you know that babies come with blankies? Because I did not know that.
All right.
And it is true. They come with blankies, and they even come with little hats.
That thing is.
They put little ski caps on them when they come home. Look at how cute it is. It's so small. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Does it say right there, Tunney?
a baby boy.
Says baby boy.
Baby boy.
Yeah, apparently they were lucky because there was a senior gynecologist on board. Serendipitously. That's who is pictured there holding the baby, is the gynecologist. But yeah, they were on a flight. It's an Indian flight from Delhi to Bengaluru.
Everything I gotta say is terrible.
Yeah, so don't say it. But I think it's adorable. You always think you like see that, thing where babies born in planes and
Yeah.
things. So
But why doesn't the baby have a mask?
Because it's a fucking baby, dude.
It got a hat and a blanket. Ain't got no mask on.
It doesn't have a hat right now, but when it's in the hospital, it comes back with a hat and a blanket.
Brandon,
They
the
just give it to
babies,
you.
the babies can't come out with COVID. I promise.
How cute is that they give you a little hat for your baby?
I had a little hat.
Yeah, I know. Everyone did.
I had a little shirt. I had a little shirt.
I got my blankie still.
I have a little shirt. It
Next time,
said-
let's bring our blankie.
Let's bring our
said,
blankies.
I'm
next
a
time.
sharp
It's a little cold in
baby.
here right now, honestly.
Because that was the hospital.
But I'm gonna move on to the next story, so Brandon doesn't say sus shit about the baby.
That baby got COVID.
Bruh.
Oh my god.
This is me moving on, so you don't.
Don't say that exactly.
But yeah, so this next story has to do with myself.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, this is a self shout out.
Self shout out incoming.
A new generation of young poll workers is stepping up to protect the elderly from COVID-19.
Woo.
So essentially, what is happening here is that older people who traditionally work the polls, retirees and such, are not working the polls as much. And this year, for obvious reasons, older people are susceptible to the virus to a much higher degree than a young person like I am. So I am going, and this pertains to me. I just got my letter today.
Oh.
I am going to be making good money working the polls for all you voters out there.
I think I remember how much you told me it was.
It's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it was a single...
I'm getting paid more than I was in my old job to work.
No.
polls.
The funny part was you're getting paid as much as an American stimulus check for 6 months.
a little bit more than an American stimulus check, and I'm working 5 days.
You better stop. Better record that on your unemployment. Hit with that fraud.
I
case.
already stopped. My unemployment ran out.
Hit with a fraud case.
I'm not gonna get hit with fraud, bro.
I think
But
we
yeah.
should talk about that. I think that's hilarious. All these freaking like another rapper. I know this isn't on the list. I mean, okay, well let me
It's
respond
not on
to
the
you.
list.
Let me respond to you real quick.
Uh-huh.
Oh, congratulations, Peter. You're doing civil service. Thank you for everything you've done for our country. I mean, you're really going to save
No applause,
save
please.
lives.
No
and,
applause. It's fine.
I
No
mean,
applause.
you're stopping someone from being in harm's way, and that is pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Because
This is when the barb comes
That's
in.
some big democracy energy you got going over there.
Dickmocracy.
I did not say that.
big
That is what
You
we
are
live in a
twisting.
big
You are
dick
twisting my
democracy.
words.
this is the milk section. I don't know how popular the milk section is.
It's not popular at all.
I don't
Our
think-
retention rate is super low in this side of the show.
I was gonna say that there's a rapper who got in trouble for like PPE loan or PPP loan fraud, like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Can I move on to my next story?
Yeah.
Are we showing the next story video?
No.
Is there a
You
video?
don't have to show the trailer. I'm not
Okay,
trying to plug it that hard, but
Just because it was
this is
attacking
one of my
me.
favorite shows of all time. This is The West Wing. It had 7 seasons. It was a political drama, and it is got a reunion coming up next week, actually, and they're doing it on the stage, and they're doing it for a good cause. It's part of Michelle Obama's "When We All Vote" program that she's doing to try to encourage people to vote. So they're reuniting on the stage, not on TV.
You were definitely choked up when I walked in.
I literally was crying when they pulled up to do the podcast, and I'm sitting in the I'm like sitting in my living room.
Some
I'm
sad
at
orchestra music playing.
the kitchen table, right? And I'm watching the video, and I'm like welling up with tears. That's how much I like this show. It's a really good show. The actors are really good in it, so I'm very excited to see what they do to try to encourage us to vote this year.
On stage is pretty cool though.
I'll probably talk about it after I see it too, because I like doing that. But yeah, and if you haven't seen The West Wing, which I'm sure these two have not,
I have not.
go,
thought
go watch
it was,
the first 2 seasons at the very least.
I thought it was probably lame. Honestly,
It's so fucking good. I cannot describe it.
is it still interesting when our real lives are?
Yeah, it actually like contemporary policy is in it. Yeah. Stuff that they do. They talk about healthcare. They talk about, tax codes like we were talking
Is
about
there
today.
like information to gain from it?
Yeah.
Like it'll like show you the processes.
Yeah,
and stuff?
a lot of the processes, and it shows you how the inner workings of the White House were, at least a standard White House. I don't know if it's anything like the Trump White House, but
I did want to get into like an interesting point about that actually.
Hold on.
Yeah.
They're like the principal characters are White House staffers. So they're the press secretary, the chief of staff, the assistant chief of staff, the communications director, the assistant's communication director, and of course the president of the United States. And they all work together and they, solve the world's problems in a dramatized way. It's a very fun show. It made me want to get into politics. And I'm here at this doing this podcast as a direct result of watching this show. So, and Brandon is so interested in what I have to say that he's checking his fucking text messages during the pod.
That's the first.
To overwrite that, I wanted to curtail Peter's one of Peter's points, not to.
And now I'm getting curtailed. That's not even the right word.
Yeah, I'm curtailing this.
I'm gonna coattail you on that.
I'm putting a nice cap at the end of this milk here.
I'm gonna grab your coattails and try to end the show.
I'm resealing the lid on this milk so we can have a nice gulp later down the line.
Yeah. What's your curtail?
Well, it's after October 5th here in California, so we know that most people listening have received their voting pieces in
I
the mail.
did.
You sure did.
I did the
Nobody
other day.
brought it to show the audience, obviously,
because
because
I'm
I
not
didn't
voting
know
by
you.
mail.
Yeah.
But
I'm voting in person.
just to put a nice little reminder, everybody, don't forget, do that vote thing.
Yeah, please do that
It's
vote
kind of
thing.
cool. It's kind of cool. You get to participate in your democracy.
Not many people in the world get this opportunity. You get this opportunity just by the nature of being born in this country.
You're very privileged. Nobody forces you to do it. You
Yes.
just do it for the greater good,
By the way, curtail is a verb, and it means reduce in extent or quantity, impose a restriction on, which I think is an inaccurate usage of curtail. I'm just gonna say that.
No, I'm bringing an end to this show.
You're bringing an end to this show.
Some good voting things to remember.
Yeah, even if financial crimes aren't on the
Because we didn't say it
ballot.
last podcast.
Yes, we did.
It was not.
we always say
it's
it.
always good to end with that, because then it's the last thing you think about.
I think I ended with that Joe Biden clip. Whatever. I'm arguing about fucking semantics now, but that wraps up our milk. Brandon.
Get off your phone,
her
Brandon.
nose was bleeding.
I don't care if her fucking head is bleeding, dude. I do care, but not right now.
Gosh, okay, just end it then. If that's how you're gonna be, just end it.
Okay, look.
Just end it about it. I don't even care anymore. Just end it about it.
Okay, I'm ending it. I'm trying to say thank yous.
Just end it about it.
I'm ending it.
About it.
I think the first thank you is for Brandon.
The first thank you is not for. I'm cutting my Brandon thank you. The first Brandon.
The first bite.
The first thank you is for Jack Tunney, our producer.
DS Alcoda.
As always, we love him. We also want to thank our editor, David Whitehead, for doing your stuff.
Let's cut his thank you.
No, I'm cutting your thank you, Brandon, especially you keep talking over me. And of course, we want to thank you, the viewer, as always. Remember to comment down below. As we said at the start of our show, we will be reading those comments live on the air, and we will be responding to them. So please, please, please do that.
And if you could do it once, you could do it again. So make sure if you read 2 comments, we'll write 2 comments.
What? Are you awake right now? Are you lucid?
Come on, Peter. Now you're just getting into semantics.
I'm not
Yeah,
getting into
this
what?
guy's getting stuck in semantics. I'm just trying to end the podcast. He's getting stuck in semantoids.
Thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
End it.